And what I discovered was an insight into the Tempest that led to an article which I've just submitted to Shakespeare Studies. And my first footnote is a footnote to the student who asked me that question, because that's where the idea started. And it has to do with wood, of all things. But a butler was the keeper of the buttery, that is, the keeper of the bottles of wine. And that turns out to be a very important aspect of the Tempest, because butts of wine are made with staves, pieces of wood that are joined together. That's the same way boats are made. And it's the same way that musical instruments are made. All of those things are important in Tempest. 1,000 twangling instruments, Caliban's moving monologue about the music that he hears, Ariel's singing, Prospero saying that he floated on shore on a rotten carcass of a butt, the boat that he and Miranda come to shore on. Stefano literally floats ashore on a cask of wine, on a butt of wine. And the theater itself, Shakespeare's theater itself, was made wood. And the terminology of the theater comes from the seafaring culture. So it opened up, that question opened up a world of resonant meanings that resulted in a critical study that I finally been able to bring to completion and send off to the first journal that I'm going to try. We'll see what they say. If they reject it, I'll send it to somebody else. But it's a coherent new reading of the Tempest. And this is one of the lovely ways, I think, in which collaboration across campus stimulates ideas for projects. So yeah, that's the latest project that I've completed. Another project that I've completed is an essay that has just been accepted for publication in a collection of essays on Henry James, and it's a study of how in the Aspern Papers, a short novel by Henry James, James draws from Macbeth in order to inform the night scenes, the scenes in which the narrator, this is the Aspern Papers is a story about a narrator who is a passionate scholar of an American poet whose now ancient lover is an old American woman living in the city of Venice. And he pretends to just be a writer needing a place to rent. He rents her house, and gradually he works his way stealthily into her sleeping chamber to steal this poet's love letters, which are in her sleeping chamber. And it might seem a stretch to say that Henry James was thinking, with regard to that intrusion into her sleeping chamber, that he was thinking about Macbeth's intrusion into Duncan's sleeping chamber, which results, of course, in a murder. But what happens in the Aspirin papers is that the poet's ancient lover dies of shock because she discovers him in her sleeping chamber. And there are other reasons that I won't go into here that that reveal that that Henry James drew from Macbeth when he wrote that novella. So that's done. I presented that paper in Trieste, in northern Italy, last July. Dr. Gray is in our English department. He's a James scholar, and he knew that I had been going to Trieste for other reasons for years. It's the city of Italo Svevo, who was a friend of James Joyce and who became the model for James Joyce's Leopold Bloom, the central character of Ulysses. Well, I've been going to Trieste to study Svevo, whose works I've written about, and some of them some short things I've translated. And when Dr. Gray asked me, have you ever considered going to Trieste for a Henry James conference, I thought, well, let me reread some of my favorite things by James. And really, because we had performed Macbeth with the Shakespeare Project just a few months before, the play was fresh in my mind, and here I am reading the Aspirin papers, and I thought, my goodness, Macbeth is all over the place in this novel, and again, collaboration is a very stimulating experience.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dibiase, for sharing your time with us and your talents and your knowledge. I personally have benefited from that ever since I was a freshman here at JSU in 1988. So just a personal thank you for sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and talents with me and everyone else in the community. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone who is listening. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, Rodney. You're one of the best students who ever passed through my classes.
Well, thank you. Again, thank you very much. And again, please make sure that everyone you stay in touch with Dr. Dibiase through his work with our civic chorale that we have, our civic orchestra, also with the Shakespeare Project. And I'm sure we'll be seeing his name on other publications and translations as well. Those will be available or made available through the School of Arts Humanities newsletter, also our Facebook page that we have, and of course, the JSU website. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope that you all tune in again for our next segment of our Faculty Spotlight. So thank you.